Get into it. Coach Colin here. What's going on, guys? Man, this is just, it's not even like current events. It just shows this clip that I'm going to show you, a couple of clips. How many things has Trump said that we've heard him say even in the past 6 months or since he started running for 2024 that sound crazy, that sound unfounded, that sound like they have no evidence to them whatsoever, that he ends up being right about. We've seen it happen so many times. And I just found one of them because I was just randomly watching some Lex Friedman and he was talking to this ex-CIA guy that I don't really like, I have to say, because I feel like you're never really ex, you know? So I was listening to it because, I don't agree with the guy on everything, but I still listen to people I don't agree with. And even he had something good to say about Donald Trump. And then I just dug a little deeper. And it was just interesting to see that now, based on this whole thing, had to do with security clearance, taking it away from certain people. Now you can look back and hear this clip that I'm about to show you. And it was a good thing that he did that. A really good thing. It was in the interest of the American citizens. And then I'm going to show you a clip of the media and how they're talking about it years ago and trying to actually make the citizens think, oh, what an evil guy to do this thing that would have been in our benefit. It's so wild the way they can spin people's mindsets. And I've said it so many times on this channel, and I'm going to say it for years. They mold reality. They create a reality and they push it into our ears and into our eyes all the time. And I just found it really interesting. Here, let me just play this real quick.
Business principle. Whereas in the current national security infrastructure, you can create a crap product, but the taxpayer dollars are always going to be spent. So it's really thrown things for a loop, especially during the Trump administration. And this is one of the things that I will always say I liked about the Trump administration. It put a big blazing bright light on all of the flaws within our system. One of those flaws being this executive power over the intelligence organizations and the lack of accountability for intelligence organizations to produce a superior product. When that light got shone down, that's when you also saw Trump start to go after, if you remember, there was a period where he was taking security clearances away from retiring officers. That became a big, hot issue. That became something that people were very opposed to when they didn't realize that process of taking security clearances away, that incentivized seasoned senior officers to stay in service. Because with private intelligence paying a premium during the Trump administration, because Trump was paying a premium to the private intelligence world, when senior officers found that it was more profitable to retire early, keep their clearance, and go work for Raytheon, Trump saw that as bypassing service to the American people. You've made a career in CIA, you've made a career in NSA, you should stay there. If you leave, you lose your clearance because you no longer have a need to know. He upset the apple cart with that. And unfortunately, the narrative that came out in many ways was a negative narrative against Trump, when in fact, he was actually doing quite a service to the American people, trying to take away the incentive of senior officials leaving their service in order to just profiteer in the private intelligence world.
So in that way, he was kind of supporting the CIA in making sure that competent people and experienced people stay and are incentivized to stay there.
Correct. I think that there was definitely, he understood incentives. I mean, Donald Trump understands incentives. So he was trying to incentivize them to stay, but I think he was also playing a safety card because he didn't want former CIA officials who were not listening to him to then move into private intel organizations that he may be hiring, only to then have them undermine him from both sides of the coin. So there was a little bit of offensive calculation in there as well.
But do the dynamics and the incentives of economics that you referred to that the private intelligence operates under, is that more or less ethical than the forces that maybe government agencies operate under? Like, what's your intuition? Is capitalism lead? So you mentioned it.
So I just wanted to show that part, just where he broke down everything. And I just want to say, I don't know how Lex Friedman does it, one of the top 10 podcasts. He doesn't look his guests in the eye. He's looking down. He's looking away. Monotone voice. It's just, how does he do it? How does he do it? Shout out to Lex Friedman. You're doing a great job. I like the conversations nonetheless, although I don't like the interview style at all. Put on a t-shirt, bro. Actually, I can't say that to him. I wear hoodies every single day. This is like my Lex Friedman suit pretty much. Anyway, guys, very interesting stuff that Trump decided to do that. And there was this vast intelligence to what he was doing, but it goes even deeper, right? It's not just that he wanted to incentivize them to stay. And I didn't even know this was a thing. You could just leave, still have all this information, and go work for Raytheon? What? What? That's insane. That doesn't even make any sense. I don't even understand how that works. That's like there's an employee on Joe Rogan's podcast. They leave. They still have access to Joe Rogan's stuff. And then they come work for me. What? That's not good. I'm going to be posting Joe Rogan episodes before he does, obviously. Or I'm going to be able to undermine what he does. I'm going to be able to... It's so bad. It's so bad. Very interesting stuff. So there is more than just one reason of why he wanted to take away this clearance. Now listen to the media. That's the real what you just saw. Now listen to how the media was trying to portray it when all of this was going on.
Backlash this morning over President Trump revoking the security clearance of former CIA Director John Brennan, who hasn't committed a crime, but has been one of the president's fierce critics.
And Michael, as you know, there are many calling this an abuse of power this morning, but the White House is now doubling down. They even put out a list of others to put all those faces right there, all of them on notice, saying they could be next. So let's get to our senior national correspondent, Terry Moran, who starts us off in Washington with the very latest. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, David. Another line crossed here. It's not unprecedented for a former CIA director to have his security clearance revoked. It happened before for mishandling classified information. What's unheard of here is John Brennan committed no crime. And President Trump, in his interview with the Wall Street Journal, made clear this is about the people, as he put it, who led the Russia investigation, which he calls a witch hunt. This morning, the president's critics are calling it his enemies list.
James Clapper, James Comey.
Officials who have publicly criticized President Trump now being targeted. Overnight, the president telling the Wall Street Journal, I don't trust many of those people on that list. I think that they're very duplicitous. I think they're not good people.
The White House just messaged the entire American intelligence community. If you stand up and say things that upset the president or with which he disagrees, he will punish you.
The president has taken the unprecedented step of revoking the security clearance of one of his fiercest critics, former CIA Director John Brennan, and he's reviewing security clearances for 9 other current and former officials.
I've seen this type of behavior and actions on the part of foreign tyrants. I never, ever thought that I would see it here in the United States.
As the head of the CIA under President Obama, Brennan presented evidence of Russian interference to President-elect Trump. The president lashing out to the Wall Street Journal, I call it the rigged witch hunt. It is a sham, and these people led it, adding, so I think it's something that had to be done. The White House insists this is not about settling scores or trying to silence the career intelligence official who served under both Republicans and Democrats. Instead, they cite erratic behavior and wild outbursts on the internet.
Mr. Brennan's line and recent conduct, characterized by increasingly frenzied commentary, is wholly inconsistent with access to the nation's most closely held secrets.
Since leaving government, Brennan has broken with an old tradition that former senior security officials should steer clear of politics, hurling harsh criticisms of Trump, calling the summit with Russian President Putin treasonous. And earlier this week tweeting, seems like you will never understand what it means to be president, nor what it takes to be a good, decent, and honest person. So disheartening, so dangerous for our nation.
Wow. Wow, so he had a hand in the whole Russia thing. Isn't that amazing? So at the time, it was just being painted as, yeah, Trump, Trump's involved with Russia. I mean, everybody knows that. I mean, it's this collusion thing. I mean, it's just going on so much so. And this guy was helping that along. He takes away his clearance and everybody's just like, oh, abuse of power. But in reality, the whole Russia thing was made up. He was right about these people. They were not good people. They were duplicitous. How many things are going to pop up like that about Trump? That we just don't, we kind of have an inkling that it's made up because we know about fake news and everything, but it's just going to come out like just whole. You know, like right now he's saying Kamala Harris is a Marxist. I have extensive proof of that. My other channel, I have the most viewed expose of Kamala Harris out. I haven't seen anybody else that has a video about Kamala Harris, Marxism, how bad she is for the country with 1.5 million views. I haven't seen anything that has that many views. So I know all about that. I have proof of that. I could debate people on that very easily. But it's so interesting to see the way that they turned it and what it actually was. It was actually something that was good, not just for his administration, not just for him, but also for the American people. It's funny. And on top of that, just to see, and I've already talked about this at length, how much he upset that agency and the other agencies, because Comey was on that list and he got rid of Comey. So he upset both agencies. And then we wonder what happened 2020, and then we wonder what's going on now. Then we wonder we wonder who. I'm not saying anything. I'm just making sounds here. That's all. I'm just making sounds. It's just very wild to see. You know, a lot of people will always be on the train of thought that anybody who has money, who is rich, who is in the media, or, you know, whether it's YouTube or otherwise, if they have any notoriety, if they have a big podcast, anything, they're a part of the club. They're a part of the club and they can't be trusted. And I used to think like that too when I was a teenager, but I'm starting to see now, and I'm not just saying it across the board with everybody, like, oh, you got to trust everybody. But when you look at Trump, when you look at what's going on with Trump and what has been going on with Trump and how much they twist his words, and that the fact that they've been doing it for 10 years now, you got to trust that guy. That guy actually does have the country's best interests at heart. Dan Balzerian was actually on Patrick Bet-David's podcast, really, and he's like, Trump's just doing it for more money and more fame. What? What are you talking about? Dan Balzerian, who takes pictures with girls, like just surrounded by girls, who gambles and talks about it, who lives this life of depravity and bad haircuts, is telling us that Trump wants more money and more fame, while he's saying the most salacious things he can possibly say to Patrick Bet-David so he can have more money and more fame. And then I saw he was on a Twitter space with the CIA Tate brothers. What are you talking about? Be quiet. Absolutely ridiculous. His dad was deep state, talking about other people. His dad's deep state, Tate's dad's CIA, and now they're all in a spaces together. Get out of here. I want to hear your nonsense. Getting pissed. Getting into TED Talk mode here. I'm getting into TED Talk mode. I'm just saying though, you know, it's people who have that notion of, oh, he's just in this for himself. It's such a bad thing to be in it for himself. Where's the billions of dollars? Everybody else, Nancy, listen, Nancy, no matter what you want to say about her, okay, when she's talking all slurred, what's the guy? I didn't pressure Joe Biden to do anything. Whatever you want to say about her, she's leaving with almost $250 million. That's somebody who seems like they may have been in it for themselves and not love of country. Lindsey Graham, 9 figures. That's someone you can say is doing it for themselves, not the love of country. Because when they came in, they were barely worth 6 figures. Now they're even worth 9. That's pretty crazy. Trump goes in worth billions, spends billions, gets hit so hard because so many people don't like him in certain aspects of business. Definitely can't do anything with Hollywood anymore. Productions, movies, all that's gone. Anything that he could have done. SNL, you think he's going to be hosting SNL ever again? That's over with. Loses all this money. Makes it back again. through Truth Social. And you're telling me this, then every time he runs, he has to spend millions of dollars? Lost money while president? That's the guy that's in it for himself. For more money? What? Where's the more? Where is it? Does it come after? How's it going to come after? I don't understand. And if it was just for more money and more fame, and it does come after the presidency, why wouldn't he just be a successful president, let that just stand and not run again? But instead tried to run again. Still, where's the more money, more fame? Then runs again. Still, where's more money, more fame? Legal fees. A fine that's 9 figures large that I think maybe they're appealing. He might still have to pay. It's like $300 some odd million. Are you kidding me? I don't understand how people have that mindset of, oh man, he's just in it for himself. Like, what? No, trust me. There are people who are in it for themselves, and they're making money for themselves, and they're selling the American people down the river. They're selling each person down the river. They could care less. They're sponsoring things that are terrible. They're writing in bills that are horrible. They could care less about what's going on with you. They don't know how much milk is, and they could care less. They have no idea. They got private chefs. They have bunkers. They have underground tunnels that they go in so they don't have to interact with citizens. What? That's a real thing. It's not all the buildings, but there's certain buildings that are attached through underground tunnels. And this is verified. You can actually see a lot of them going through these tunnels when January 6th happened, actually. You know, Nancy, a bunch of them. They all went down and went out some other way. And that's so they don't have to interact with you. Maybe those people are in it for themselves. I don't know, man. Like, look at Obama. How much money? Look at Biden. How much money? Border just open. Border just like this. This is the border. People just walk through. Just, poof, doof, 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 doof. That's what the border does. You just walk in. Doof, 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 doof. Border's like a Walgreens. A Walgreens where you walk in and they just go, here's your money. All right. Where you going? Electronics? It's that way. You want a bus or a plane? Okay. What? I'm in TED Talk mode. I'm sorry. I just found that very interesting, though. I was just watching that interview and I was like, huh. And there's so many smart things that he's done that way. You know, I wish I knew the particulars about what I'm going to say, but I believe it was GMC. I believe there was a car company. They wanted to have certain things made elsewhere. And he was like, if you do that, when your cars come back, I'm going to put a 35%, I believe it's 35% tariff on each car, and no one's going to want to buy your cars because they're going to be overpriced. He just does things like that. And again, it's going to help him. It's going to help his administration, but it's going to help the American people. Going to keep jobs, going to keep businesses there. And you know how many people who are just straight up socialists? I'm telling you, the more I learn about socialism and communism, the more I despise people who are those things. I'm telling you, I'm sorry if you are one. I apologize. I'll still talk to you and shake your hand if I see you in the street. But I despise those ideologies so much. I don't even know how I was getting to that. I gotta end this episode, guys. I'm getting too riled up right now. All right. I'm going to make some more episodes right now. Let me know, because if you're listening until this point, you are an actual viewer. Screw those people who watch for 2 minutes and leave. Screw them. You are an actual viewer. Do you want me to go live? You think I should start going live? I did it on the other channel. People really liked it, you know, and I'm thinking I might just start going live probably every day for a few hours, doing something like that. You know, line up a bunch of stories, go through it all. You know, rant, be able to interact via chat, you know. Let me know. Let me know if that's something you think I should do. Anyways, guys, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. Other than that, I'm out.